Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It, Paint It. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit exciting, and I'm going to be painting a model from Street Masters Rise of the Kingdom. This is a game currently on Kickstarter, and Blacklist Games were kind enough to send me some prototype models to paint for a tutorial. A word of warning, these models are currently prototypes and they're made of poly resin, so they're not the final version that will be produced. As for the game itself, I haven't played it. Looks pretty cool on the Kickstarter, but I'll leave a link in the description below and you guys go and check it out for yourselves, see what you think. Let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial. So for this third tutorial, I'm painting Dmitri. You can see him here in this concept art. He's wearing blue overalls and he's got a big rocket launcher machine gun thing, and you can see him here painted on the Kickstarter. As always, I'll show you the paints that I'm going to use at the beginning, so just a few today, and I'll put them in the description below in written form for you. So let's get started. So here you can see Dmitri before I've touched him. He's in the poly resin, as I've mentioned previously and on the other tutorials, as he's a prototype, and I'm not going to bother priming him because the paint sticks quite well to this material. So we'll start with the Survivor skin colour. And you can see that I'm painting his face, his hands, and I'll also do his arms. That's all done with the regiment brush by the army painter, nice and quick. Apply a couple of coats and you can see what it looks like here. Pretty good already. Next we'll move on to the Night Blue by Vallejo. I'm still using the regiment brush. This is quite a watery paint as well, so it flows quite smoothly. And here I'm going to be painting all of his overalls, and this is sort of the shadow colour. I'm not going to be using any washers, so I'm painting it fairly dark to begin with to make sure I get this in all the crevices. And I'm missing out his belt and his gun buckles because I didn't have the model card in front of me as I'm painting this. I advise when you're painting things, if you want them to look like the model, you should put the cards in front of you. Next, I'm moving on to Dead Black by the Army Painter, and I'm doing his gun handle. I'm going to do his boots as well. I will also do his machine gun rocket launcher that's on his back. All of this is most of the time with the base coats. I'm just using the regiment brush to apply a quick base coat to all the colours. I'm also going to be painting his gloves now, so if you want a really professional looking model, I think you need to paint his hands first under his gloves, otherwise it's just never going to look realistic. Obviously I'm joking there. I didn't have the card in front of me, I couldn't see what he looked like, and I thought he had bare hands, and subsequently I realised I was wrong. So I'm just painting his gloves here on top of his hands. And as I mentioned, his gun all in black, which is how it looks in the concept art. I sort of feel that I'd like that to be more metallic, but I just followed how he looked in the pictures. So there you can see him now with his skin, his overalls, and his guns and boots and gloves done. I'm just going to use Necromancer Cloak, a dark grey, for the tiny bit of vest / t-shirt that you could see through his overalls. So that's a very quick job using the detail brush there. And using the detail brush again, I'll be doing the base coat for his hair using Desert Yellow by Vallejo. Again, from the concept art, I'm going for quite a dusty looking blonde hairstyle by the end of this. And there you can see, already fully base coated. That took about 20-25 minutes tops, and that was multiple coats on the skin primarily and the hair. And that's a close-up so you can see how he looks. I mean, you can sort of see the shadows and highlights already being cast just on how the model's been developed and how the paint's sort of fallen. So some bad news going forth here, I haven't got Benson in to do the highlighting, so you're going to have to put up with my highlighting technique, but I am following his guides from the previous two videos and I'm mixing up the highlight colours here, as you can see. So I'm taking the Night Blue again and mixing that with the Denim Blue by the Army Painter and producing a lighter version of the Night Blue, applying this quite generously to all of the raised areas of his overalls. So the sort of knee pads there, each fold in his overalls, all the bits of the gun holder that you could see, his buttocks, his back, his belt loops, his collar, along his sleeves, basically as much as you can, just leaving the night blue in all of the recesses of his clothes and all the folds of his clothes, just leaving it basically where shadows would fall. This is with the detail brush, so I'm being quite careful, but still being very generous with this particular layer. So next we're going to mix in some more of the denim blue and make it lighter. There you saw I just made it a bit too light, and I'm taking a dry brush for this bit and just applying very light strokes to drag across the model and leave some paint on all the raised areas of his clothes. Hopefully you can start seeing this lightening up now, and then taking my detail brush again just to fill in the same colour on all the bits that I couldn't get the dry brush near, so his collar and his belt loops and his belts and his knee pads. So just touching it up a little bit further. I think highlighting up his overalls is the largest part of the time producing this model. I mean, as you can see, most of the model is him and his overalls, and when highlighting up like this, using several different colours to raise him up to the lights and shadows, yeah, it does take quite a bit of time. But there you go. Here you can see the overalls finished. So that's the base coat and all the highlighting that I'm going to do done. Hopefully you think it looks okay. Possibly not as good as Benson would have done, but there's a difference between how long we've been painting. Next up is Filthy Suit, and this is to highlight the ring part of his shirt as well as just a little bit that would be in the light. And then we're going to take the Necromancer Cloak, the dark grey that I used for the t-shirt originally, and I'm going to be applying this generously with the detail brush though, catching all the raised areas of the black, so his boots, his gloves. I'm using the dry brush here to catch his gloves, and for his gun as well, I'm just scraping the slightest amount of Necromancer Cloak all over it so it'll catch on all the raised parts of his gun. I just thought doing it with the detail brush, there's so many little bits to the gun it would take forever. So next I'm going to mix that Filthy Suit in with the Necromancer Cloak. You can see I've got a new mixing palette. Quick Draw Supplies had very kindly sent me some of these after hearing I was running out of Pringles lids to do my mixing in. And I think the palette's hopefully a bit easier for you to see the colours mixing together if you want to pause it on parts to see what sort of colour it's roughly getting to. And here I'm applying with a detail brush this mixture of the Filthy Suit and Necromancer's Cloak, probably about 50-50 I'd say, and I'm just catching all the very extreme edges of all of his items. So I went for his knuckles and the tops of his boots, the front of his boots, and then all the bits and lots of bits on the gun on his back, but all the bits that would catch the light. So no, it's not the final highlight yet, hair to go after this, but next is the skin, and that's using the Survivor skin, mixing that in with the pale flesh by Vallejo. I'm using the detail brush, as you can hopefully see, and I'm applying a fairly generous amount to each part of his muscles on his arms here. This model is, especially his arms, are very well defined, so it's very easy to paint each section of the muscle here. I think that's coming across in the video. I think you can see that quite clearly. He's got big muscles. I also went and applied it to his forehead, his cheeks, his nose, his jawline and his chin there. And so next I mixed in some more pale flesh, and I'm just going to be catching the edges of each muscle now, and just being a lot more careful here and getting the tip of his nose, both of his sort of eyebrow bones, and his chin as well there. So to highlight up his hair that I mentioned was coming, in case you didn't know I was going to highlight up his hair, is zombie skin. This is a sort of pale light yellow by the Army Painter. I'm just using the detail brush here and applying, basically painting in each hair, each strand for him. I'll do the base as I've done the other two tutorials for this in just dead black, just plain black. Paint that all the way around. Be careful around his feet, although at least his boots are black and the base is black, so not too messy. And there you go. That's Dmitri finished by me. I'm pretty happy with this model. These are very small and I'm still fairly new to painting, and I think he looks better than just casual tabletop, so I'm pretty pleased with him. I hope you've enjoyed watching him be painted. And I'll put him against Drago, which Benson painted. I think you can notice the difference in painting experience there. Drago having sort of 10 years experience behind him and Dmitri having 10 months of experience behind him. So hopefully that gives you a feel for, if you're quite new to painting, what you can achieve and where you can get to in 10 years of practice. I'm just going to paint in some eyes now, but I wanted to show how he looked before I got paint all over his face, because this is fairly difficult for me to do. So I've taken the white and I'm going to paint in a pair of eyeballs, sorry, and then I'm going to take black and paint in the pupils. And hopefully you can just make them out. There they are. And I've tried to do them subtle better than getting paint everywhere, but when you do pick him up, obviously you focus on the face, so it's nice to have some actual detail there. So there you go. It's the last 24 hours of their Kickstarter now, so if you haven't checked it out, links in the description below. And thank you all for watching.